Okay, we already know drugs are not magic, and prescription drugs do not cure anything. They only cover or hide the symptoms you feel. And symptoms are a way for your body to tell you there is a problem. We all know this, and still we take every drug the doctor says we should. Demand health care, not drug care. There's a big difference. You're hurting yourself or healing yourself? Let's learn a little something about the medical industry today.
I think we're a society where we take a pill for everything, to lose weight, to get rid of a headache. Whatever you need a pill for, it's there.
Everybody's got them. You can go to anybody's house and look in the bathroom and there's something.
It's a big problem in the state of Tennessee. Last year we were the #1 state with prescription drug abuse. That's really sad.
We see deaths. In fact, it's one of the leading causes of death is prescription drug overdose.
So many times I've heard now when people say, you know, he was such a good boy till he got on them drugs.
I knew that prescription drug abuse, was possible. That's something that people do. I guess I was like most mothers. I never thought it would come into my home.
The misuse of prescription drugs. It's a growing problem, and some states are just starting to address it. But in Tennessee, they've been dealing with the problem for years. The state's population of almost 6 million makes it our nation's 16th largest state, but until recently, it held the unwanted title of the state with the highest number of prescriptions per resident. With that came a large number of prescription drug addictions and deaths. Leaders in the counter drug field in Tennessee have some experience dealing with prescription drug abuse, and people in the rest of the nation might be able to learn from their experience.
Over the decade of the 90s, the late 80s and early 90s, there was a very clear increase in prescription drug use. The secular trend was increasing. That's not different really than any other state. What was different was the magnitude of use, the overall magnitude of use, which was much greater than the other states on the average. Tennessee's rate is around 17 prescriptions per resident per year. The average in the U.S. is a little bit over 11, so it's substantially higher. Different parts of the state see different trends. It seems to be higher in the east. In rural areas, it's a little bit higher. And then the type of drug that's used is different in different parts of the state.
Tennessee has always been ranked very high, if not the highest, in the use of prescription narcotics. I don't know if that's the geography. I don't know the mindset of all of those people, but I do know that we seem to have more than our share of pain clinics where someone can, if you can get your money up on the top of the counter, then you can get you a prescription.
What has stayed on a constant rise that I've been on for many, many years is after alcohol, we like our pills. Whether you're an adult, whether you're an old person, whether you're a young person, 1 in 3 people in Knox County are taking a narcotic or mind-altering prescription.
We have had over 80 overdose deaths in Roane County since November of 2003 because of prescription drug abuse. So, it's something that we really need to focus on.
Many people don't think they can die from taking a prescription drug. After all, a doctor prescribes it, but that's far from the truth. Drug users are no longer dying on the streets with track marks and needles. They're dying from popping pills.
The number of deaths attributed to prescription drug use and misuse is rising every year at a dramatic rate. In comparison to a relatively steady rate, slightly increasing though for illicit drugs. It was just a few years ago that the numbers of prescription drug deaths exceeded those from drugs like heroin and cocaine.
So what drugs are we talking about? You probably heard some of the brand names, Xanax, Oxycontin, Vicodin, but the prescription problem involves much more than those popular drugs. The most abused categories of drugs are pain relievers, stimulants, sedatives, and tranquilizers. But any prescription drug can be abused, and if combined with other drugs and substances, the results can be tragic.
I'd say most people, especially young, naive people, do not understand the dangers of these drugs. When you mix even small doses of an opioid and a benzodiazepine, you can get synergism. So rather than 1 + 1 is 2, the effect may be like 3 or 4. So it's an exaggeration of the effect. So that can result in severe toxicity, coma, and death.
The people who abuse the pills don't seem to be aware of the dangers.
Eminem and Courtney Love both got hooked on hydrocodone, and it's almost as easy to get on a college campus as it is in Hollywood.
Hydrocodone is a prescription drug that is often referred to as Vicodin, Vic, or Watson 387. Hydrocodone is a drug which is similar to morphine and is legally prescribed to treat moderate to severe pain, as well as dry, hacking coughing associated with bronchitis or sinusitis. Recreationally, the drug is taken because it causes euphoria, sedation, and numbing mental effects. Hydrocodone is most commonly combined with acetaminophen to form the prescription drug Vicodin, but it is also available mixed with ibuprofen as Vicuprofen and combined with aspirin as Lortab ASA. Recreational users of hydrocodone usually swallow pills whole or crush them and snort the powder. Once ingested, hydrocodone travels to the brain's central nervous system, where it binds to opioid receptors in the pleasure centers of the brain, producing a euphoria and sedation, which is part of the reason why it is so addicting. In fact, with daily use, most people will become addicted to hydrocodone within 1 week, experiencing physical withdrawal symptoms without the drug. Unfortunately, hydrocodone overdoses are common and can lead to slowed breathing, unconsciousness, and even death. Over time, constant abuse of this drug may also result in potentially life-threatening liver failure. Although there are over 200 drugs which include hydrocodone that can be legally prescribed in the US, they are still illegal and unsafe for use without a prescription.
You've got a headache, and I've got some strange disease, don't worry about it. This pill will set your mind at ease. It's called Progenitorivox. It's made by Squab Merle Co. It's a life-enhancing miracle, but there are some things you should know. It may cause agitation, palpitations, excessive salivation, constipation, male lactation, rust-colored urination, hallucinations, bad vibrations, mild electric shock sensations. But it's worth it for the drugs I need. My disease may not be fatal, but I can ease my fears by taking 2 $12 pills each day for 50 years. They've spent billions to convince me, so now I realize Progenitorivox beats diet and exercise. I've got insurance, at least for now I do. And if I bought generic, it would cut my costs in two. But I want Progenitorivox, 'cause I saw it on TV. Those families look so functional, that Paisley pills for me. But it may cause deprivation, humiliation, debtor's prison and deportation. Dark depictions, dire predictions, life as seen in Dickens fiction. Empty pockets, court dockets, may cause eyes to pop from sockets. But it's worth it for the drugs I need. But it's worth it in Canada. They get this for a song. But it's worth it for the drugs I need.
The opinions expressed in the song are not necessarily those of Squab Merle Co. or its subsidiaries. Progenitorivox is not available anywhere. Often void in Wisconsin. Any resemblance to actual drugs, living or dead, is purely coincidental. Any unauthorized use of your own judgment in the application of Progenitorivox is strictly prohibited. Progenitorivox may not be reproduced without the express written consent of Major League Baseball. Progenitorivox may cause drowsiness or restlessness in lab animals. Do not resume sexual activity while operating heavy machinery without consulting your physician. For erections lasting longer than 4 hours, insert your own joke here. If you experience psychotic episodes, you're crazy. If death occurs, discontinue use of Progenitorivox immediately. If symptoms persist, consult your physician. All sales final. Batteries not included.
For the drugs I need.
And now a very interesting animation on how to deal with pain.
Everyone agrees that pain is a universal human experience. We now know that pain is 100% of the time produced by the brain. This includes all pain, no matter how it feels, sharp, dull, strong or mild, and no matter how long you've had it. You might have had it for a few weeks or months. This is called acute pain, and it's common with tissue damage, say from a back injury or ankle sprain. And generally, you'll be encouraged to stay active and gradually get back to doing all your normal things, including work. Or you might have had it for 3 months or more, and this pain is generally called persistent or chronic, because in this type of pain, tissue damage is not the main issue. What's less clear, though, is when you're told you have chronic pain, is knowing what's best to do about it. Well, in Australia, chronic pain is a really big problem. In fact, 1 in 5 people have it. Having a brain that keeps on producing pain, even after the body tissues are restored and out of danger, is no fun. Some people say it still feels like they must have something wrong. But that's just it. Once anything dangerous is ruled out, health professionals can explain that most things in the body are healed as well as they can be by 3 to 6 months. So ongoing pain being produced by the brain is less about structural changes in the body and more about the sensitivity of the nervous system. In other words, it's more complex. So to try and figure out what's going on, you need to retrain the brain and nervous system. To do this, it's helpful to look at all the things that affect the nervous system and may be contributing to your individual pain experience. What can help is to look at persistent pain from a broad perspective, and by using a structured approach and a plan, it's less likely that anything important will be missed. Let's start with the medical side. Firstly, taking medication can help, but only to a limited extent. It is the more active approaches that are necessary to retrain the brain. So using medications to get going is okay, and then mostly they can be tapered and ceased. Some people also think surgery might be the answer, but when it comes to a complex problem like chronic pain, surgery may not be helpful. So if you're thinking of surgery, it's best to get a second opinion, and remember to consider all the things. Next, it is helpful to consider how your thoughts and emotions are affecting your nervous system. Pain really impacts on people's lives, and this can have a big effect on your mood and stress levels. All those thoughts and beliefs are brain impulses too, but you can learn ways to reduce stress and wind down the nervous system. This helps with emotional well-being and can reduce pain as well. The third area to consider is the role of diet and lifestyle. Now, it turns out that our modern lifestyle might not be so good for us. In fact, what we eat and how we live may really be contributing to a sensitized nervous system. Looking at all the things like smoking, nutrition, alcohol, and activity levels, and seeing if there are any issues is a good beginning, and these things can go on your plan. Then there's often enormous value in exploring the deeper meaning of pain and the surrounding personal story. By stepping back and looking at all the things that were happening around the time the pain developed, many people with pain can make useful links between a worrying period of life and a worsening pain picture. For many, recognizing deeper emotions can be part of the healing process. Last, but by no means least, is physical activity and function. From the brain's perspective, getting moving at comfortable levels without fear and where the brain does not protect by pain is best, and you'll gradually restore your body's tissues. So, to sum up pain, it comes from the brain and it can be retrained, and when looked at from a whole person or broad perspective, gives you a lot of opportunities to begin. So, get a helping hand if you need it, set a goal, and begin.
Okay, that's part 1. Part 2 is up next. You're hurting yourself or healing yourself. It's your choice.